Oh, don't look for Florida sunshine today. My goodness gracious. It's a dark, gloomy, overcast, rainy morning. But still a sunshine state, and we're still gonna make it work. That's what we do. Got the project truck going. I'm rebending the panhard bar to move the rear end a little bit. I don't know if I mentioned that yesterday. I probably did. Probably several times. We're gonna spend a day in the shop fixing some cars, hopefully. No one out in the parking lot, and Floridians don't like bad weather. So a lot of people will be canceling appointments probably, unless they're broke down or have a really major problem that they need looked at. So I'll put some clips in right here to let you know whether it's worth watching today's video or not. 2014 Mercedes SUV. 2015 Toyota Sienna minivan. 2010 Nissan. 2006 Jeep Wrangler right side drive. 1997. So you can see how today went. I don't have any idea yet. I know that we got lots of classics around. We got something we could probably work on out in the grass, probably come up with something to do. We'll do whatever it takes. Let's have some fun, learn a thing or two, get in the shop and get started. Stay tuned. Whoa, 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 easy, Tiger. That's better. Not a lot going on. I'm gonna go drive this Isuzu and seat these brakes. Weather's nasty. Customers are canceling appointments like I guessed, but can finish this one from yesterday, and then maybe there'll be something to do after that. Take a nice 15-20 minute road test. Oh well, we'll see what we can do. Don't give up hope yet. You know we work on nothing but the best here at the car shop. Look at this thing. 2014 Mercedes SUV. When my, oh, that's not good. Careful. When my sons were young, they would say SUV stands for stupid, useless vehicle. Now one of them drives an SUV, see? 86,922 loving miles. I'm gonna say it gets a 7, but it does have the typical Mercedes poor fabric. It's all ripping, pulls out the threads, the door panels start coming apart. When they hit about 10 years old, their life's basically over. But people love them, so they're luxury German automobiles. We're gonna take a look, just a quick inspection they want. We do their oil changes and stuff, so my expectations are low. That doesn't mean we're not gonna try, make sure the vehicle's safe for them and all that, right? So let's take a look around, see what we can spot. Take a look at the brakes, tires, front end, wipers. I already checked all the lights. Pretty quick and easy to run through. If there's a bulb out in the back, it would blink faster on one side. And you can see the bulbs blinking in the front and in the mirror. It also, these Mercedes, it tells you bulb out, left rear, bulb out right front, fog lamp out, all that kind of stuff. So the computers look at the resistance in the circuit and know if a bulb's working or not. So let's have us a nice look around. 59 degrees and rainy in Central Florida, the Sunshine State. My goodness. Oh yeah, brakes are 10 millimeter in the front. Tires are 80%. Let's see what the back looks like. Same deal, 9 millimeters. Tires are 80%. You gotta check all 4 wheels though. You can't just go off the rails and assume. This has pad sensors too. So if you have one of these cars and someone says you need brakes, but your brake warning light isn't on, probably don't need brakes yet. These brakes are new. You can still see the crosshatch marks in the rotors. Yep. Everything's nice and nice as far as brakes and tires go. Let's go a little higher and look at the suspension and stuff. Yep, the front end's in good shape too. I don't see any play in the tire ends or all of the ball joints. It's got a lot of ball joints. They do go bad too, but this car's pretty low miles. Sway bar links, all that stuff looks good. All the rubber's in good shape for them. Yep, same thing back here. This car doesn't need anything, but he wanted to make sure it didn't need anything. Some customers, they're gonna run their car until the brakes are metal to metal, the tires are showing cords, there's no oil left in the engine, and all they do is just keep putting gas in it. And some customers come in like every 2 months for us to check it and make sure it doesn't need anything. I don't think anything's gonna come in this one. We'll see. '15 Toyota Sienna minivan. 159,000 miles. Check engine lights on. I got the trusty Top Don Phoenix Light 2 going. And needs a floor mat, but yeah, as you can see, it's too late for that. I'll probably get one anyway, just so I don't add to the mess. Right now, my feet are just wet. They're not greasy or dirty. Haven't done anything yet today. You can see the troublesome check engine light is on. Job security light. All right, almost every time I turn it on, there's updates, and I keep it up to date. Might as well. Go ahead and update it. It goes pretty quick when it does it, so it's not a big deal to wait a minute. Especially, well, this is Ford and a lot of other things. Coolant bleed? AdBlue reset. That's a diesel thing. So we'll go ahead, scan the VIN in this thing. It should auto detect it, tell me what kind of car I got, make sure it's a 15 like they told me on the paperwork. It runs good. So it's probably emissions related, catalytic converter, evap system codes, purge, and things like that. Oh, we will see. It's got a problem with the radio volume. If you try to adjust the volume, it goes all crazy. You can't lower it. It goes up when you turn it down. It's a factory radio too. Toyota junk, you know. A lot of people don't realize when I joke a lot about brands, but a lot of people are fiercely loyal to a certain brand because they don't realize that somebody makes that for them. Toyota doesn't make that radio start to finish. They buy it from a supplier. They have a third-party contract. It could be Blaupunk, Pioneer, JVC, whatever. Some of those companies are even really one company under several different brands, but they say what they want. They tell them the dimensions. Company makes it for them. You know, they might have a different company make the plastic faceplate. Someone else makes the base. So the brand loyalty thing, yeah, it's doesn't really make any sense. If you know a lot about these vehicles, how they're made, you're a little bit less loyal. It's like I used to only buy GM vehicles, Chevrolets, Pontiacs, stuff like that. And then I realized that one of the trucks I owned was built in like Mexico. I said, oh, okay, there's no reason for me to be loyal if they aren't. And I started driving Toyotas. So some people ask me about that. You're driving Japanese brands. It's because I know enough to know that they're not being loyal to you. So do what you think is best with your money. Don't be blindly loyal to some brand. Tools, cars, anything. Do what's best for you, because that's what they're doing. You think they're worried about you, you're probably pretty foolish. Or you're just uninformed. I'm trying to help you out. This is going to take a second. So, topology nonsense. Get that out of here. Smart scan. This is going to take a minute, so I'll let this run, and we'll come back and go over the codes. All right, we got one OBD2 code, and we got 4 ECM ECT codes. Brake switch, AB correlation, engine immobilizer malfunction, coolant thermostat, coolant thermostat, coolant thermostat. So there's something going on with the coolant thermostat. Seems pretty easy. I'm gonna look in the data real quick and see if I can see something going on with this brake switch thing. It's in the history. It might have already been fixed and not cleared, which is why I always try to remember to clear the codes when I'm done with a repair. Should be in the data files under B. Once we know whether there's anything going on with that, then we'll do a comparison of the coolant temp sensor and the coolant temperature. See if I'm going to let it run the whole time. It should be getting pretty hot by the time we get to it. If the engine's not really hot, the thermostat's stuck open. It should only take 4 or 5 minutes for an engine to get the temperature if the thermostat's working properly. Based on the climate in our area. If you're up in a colder climate, it might take longer, of course, but let's see. No, it's not under B for brake switch, is it? So much for that theory, Jimmy. Let's see. I might have to go under like a ABS thing too, just to find the data easier. But we'll cruise through here and take a look. If you guys spot it, tell me to stop. Nope. Okay. Solenoid test. Tell me this thing. Oh, stoplight switch. I don't see the two parts of it. Sometimes what they do is the cruise control and the brake lights, it's 2 different circuits in the same switch. Tap the brakes on, off. So that's working every time. So I don't see a big concern with that. Just want to take a look. Should have been in the ECM data, but it wasn't. Let's see what the engine temp is. On the gauge, it's just about halfway up. Not quite. So it looks like that might be pretty accurate. And we don't know how long the vehicle ran before they got here with it either, so we're making some assumptions. Once in a while you do that. I want to see coolant temp, engine speed, and I want to see engine runtime, if that's Sometimes you can find that, sometimes you can't. Stoplight switch. It's under S. It's not brake light, it's stoplight. Silly. I went in the ABS thing for nothing. I'm going to bring it up again just for fun. Speed. Let's find air temp just for fun. And every manufacturer labels them and abbreviates them differently, so it'll be in a different spot, and that's just part of what we do. If you're lucky enough, like I talked about the dealership and how they can be pretty brutal if you're not really immersed in that environment and that kind of a person where you're a little aggressive, then it's a rough environment. But if you're lucky enough to be working on one brand, at least you know all your brand's abbreviations and locations. It's just a little bit easier. So our purpose now is to figure out the thermostat code. That's all we're really doing. Engine speed, coolant temp. It's getting hot. The reason it sets that code is because it takes a certain amount of time compared to what it expects. Now, if a temperature sensor is not working correctly, then it could cause that code as well and fool it into thinking something's going on with the thermostat. But I found over the years that 9 times out of 10 it's a thermostat. What you really need to do is have the vehicle cool and look at the air temp and coolant temp and make sure they're within a couple of degrees of each other, like it sits overnight. You should, if it's 80 degrees out, both sensors should show 80 degrees when everything's cool, right? And you start it up and the coolant temp should rise pretty quickly. If it takes forever and it seems like the car can run an hour before the fan ever comes on, or then the thermostat's probably stuck open and it has to heat a lot more coolant before it gets to temp where the fans will come on and stuff. It doesn't mean it won't get the temp, just means it takes far longer than it's supposed to. And it makes the computer mad because it's an emissions related thing. If the engine's cold longer, it pollutes more. Then when it gets the temperature, it pollutes less. So that's the only reason they really care that much about it. Affects your gas mileage a little bit too. So we can put this in graphing mode and get a better idea. I don't really need a stoplight switch, but I already picked it, so let's look at it. On, off, on, off. So right now we're not experiencing a temperature problem. I can let them know the customer's waiting. I can let them know we need to let it sit a little while and cool off, or we can put a thermostat in it and see how it goes. That's going to be up to them. The vehicle doesn't look like it's had a whole bunch done under the hood. Let's go out and take a look at that. We've got new fans. Does not have new hoses or any of that stuff. Looks like that belt has been on there a while. Okay. I smell coolant or something. I can smell something. Could be from some other car, but I think it's from this one. This one has a timing belt driven water pump. Looks like maybe that power steering hose was replaced. What do I smell? Very strange. I don't see anything. Okay. I'm going to turn it off, check the oil, and let them know our options as far as thermostat or letting it sit overnight to be 100% sure. Pretty confident it's going to be a thermostat though. I would recommend the hoses and all that too, just based on age and mileage. The problem though, sometimes I've found where the aftermarket hoses don't last nearly as long, but you know, they look a little swollen to me. I don't like the way they look. See how narrow it is here versus how wide it gets? It's not molded in that way. The only time that happens in a mold is when it gets bigger at one end than it is at the other. And you can see this is the same size on both ends, so the hose shouldn't be changing sizes like that. So it's a little soft, and the engine heat and pressure is expanding it because it's not able to keep its shape as well. A little expansion is normal, but not what I'm saying. And even though it may not be a problem for a long time to come, I still have to recommend it so a hose doesn't pop in a month and I'm the bad guy, right? Let's see what happens with this car. Here's your thermostat, radiator hoses, and coolant service. Gotta take this air box out of my way. These hoses are labeled, the red one not so much, but there's a yellow hose, goes to the yellow, and then the bottom one obviously is going to go on the leftover hose. Black to black, yellow to yellow, and the red one at the top. Gotta remember that going back together. 2 10s and 2 latches, and I gotta do the clamp and get the hose off with it. In case I need this. a Toyota filter in it. Huh. That is interesting. Lost mess. Someone was nice enough to leave all the clips out for me so I don't have to work on those. They clip in right back here, which it's not hard, but this wasn't in either. This nut wasn't tight back there. I have to see if the threads are okay when I get it out. 310s, pull that housing out of there. Couldn't hardly see nothing before. Good thing we got the whole housing. It broke. These Toyota clamps are brutal because they got a little key, and you got it. If you don't line the two tabs up just right, I cut myself. If you don't line the two tabs up just right, you can't get it in the key, and it also stops you from opening it more unless you get it in there. Typical Toyota junk. Now, if you're tricky with the easy ones to get to, my temptation is to just cut them with a cut-off wheel. But it sounds to me like that's what makes it ridiculous. Now it'll let me compress it enough. Perfect. The safety catch thing, or the lock clip, I guess you'd call it, never lines up with that little slot in the top, and you got to sit there with needle nose while it's under tension, manipulating and trying to get it to pass through the lock. So sometimes I'll just cut it off. I want to reuse those clamps if I can, because they're constant tension clamps, and as the rubber settles it'll adjust like a spring. So I'm going to reuse them if I can. If they were rustier, then I'd put cheap old worm clamps on there, but prefer not to use the worm clamps if I can avoid it. Same treatment on these clamps. Now, you can squeeze them all the way. Dunk. Quite a bit easier. Now you can see from this lovely piece of part, much like the clamp fiasco, this is a little bit of a fiasco to get out of there. This bottom bolt here, it's in there. You can trust me. You gotta get those 3 bolts out. And then you can, and this 12 right here on the head, dunk. And then this sits in there like that. It's a little bit of a jiggle and act, jiggle, you know. You're gonna play with it a little while and see what happens. I think from memory it fits out of there. I hope you don't have to move the starter or anything, but I don't think so. I think there's room. This thing, the bottom bolt, that's a tricky one. Probably have to use a magnetic socket going back together. She's a little corroded. The coolant housing's been leaking. That's why I was a little low on coolant. I'm gonna have to clean that up, get the nut off of there, I think. I think it'll be easier to put the stud in after I get the housing out of the way and only have to feed the nut in there. I'm not sure, but that's what I think. That's the way I'm gonna attack it. Kind of fits out, but that's the broken one. I'm wondering if a solid one-piece one's gonna go back. We'll see. There's a little air bleed valve at the top of this thermostat. You can probably see in there. I want that at the top, so it lines up with that top leg. And you can barely get this done. So, got my rubber gasket in place. Got to get my thermostat in this hole, fully seated. Hopefully you don't knock it out while you're going in with the housing. It turned a little bit on me. I got to find out where my lead dealio is. That should be good. Luckily the thermostats are pretty tight fit in there. So when you push it in with your finger and that rubber gasket pops kind of in there, it's got a good hold on it, so it shouldn't go anywhere. Now the magic trick's going to be this extra ½ inch that hasn't broken off this one. See if we can fish it through like this and then get it on those studs. Just try not to disturb it. I'm either going to need the starter or the hoses, and I'm probably going to need the starter instead. I think that's what I'll do. Because all of those hoses in there are fighting me. I started a couple of 14s. And I should be able to just lay it down and get that extra little bit I need.
Okay, when it came in?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what's happening, man. That's where the action's at. You gotta avoid the temptation until this thing is in. Shifter cable. Excuse you. Yeah, it's gonna come out. Pulling this heater hose out of the way helped. But I'm gonna leave that off till I get my nuts tightened up. I'm gonna tighten the starter up. Gotta get that one tight. I did take the starter bolts all the way out. That last 1/4 inch wouldn't let me fit the housing in, so the starter came completely out other than the cables. I did not take the battery cables loose or anything because I didn't want to lose the memory, and there's a rubber cap on the battery cable on the starter anyway. $14 Sunex swivel, gear wrench extension, gear wrench ratchet. This one a shorter extension. Someone left a comment on my short about my Icon toolboxes from my Snap-on, and they said that they'd rather spend $10,000 on a Snap-on than $5,000 or whatever it was on an Icon, which it's not really. My box has the locker and the top box. If you buy my bottom box and the hutch, it's like $3,400. They said they'd rather spend $10,000 because Snap-on quality is so much better, and I've had 7 Snap-on toolboxes. I don't see the difference in quality, but I understand, you know, people that spent a lot of money in their toolboxes want to say that the metal's better and stuff, but I mean, my toolbox is 2.5 years old now. Not a single problem with it. I do like the design of the Snap-on Epic latches a little better, the drawer retention latches, and they are 3.5 inches deeper, but I don't see a difference in quality, honestly. I know some people won't like that, but for me, you're paying for the name, and the Snap-on has a good reputation in the toolbox industry and the tool industry in general. I just don't think it's worth that much extra money. If it was a little bit more, yeah, for the brand recognition mostly. You know, it's like a Ferrari compared to a Toyota. A Ferrari's way more expensive. And you say it's better quality? I don't think so. Ferraris have a lot more plagued with problems than Toyotas. They cost more because of the brand. Same kind of thing, I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm off base. You guys tell me. You tell me if I'm off base on that. Is a Ferrari a higher quality car than a Toyota, and that's why it costs more? Now, there's a little corrosion on this nut. I didn't clean it off intentionally, so it'll stick in my socket a little better. Shouldn't need a magnetic socket.
What it sounds like to me? Smoke break, motherfucker.
Alright, I got all my 10s tight. They weren't too bad. Not too bad. I'll have to rinse all this down afterwards. We spilled a little antifreeze here and there. Oh look, a clamp lock. Nope. I always leave this loose so I can get it on that. It goes on a baffle on the bottom that bolts to the frame rail. It goes in the air box and it comes up here. And it's just basically a secondary inlet. I don't know what its main purpose is. Probably some kind of noise, or in case it ingests water. I don't know. You guys tell me what it's for. 3 bolts in here. 2 are the same, 1 slightly different. So I'm going to put that one by itself up top. These ones are a little longer. They have to go together on the frame rail. I drained the coolant and ran some water through the radiator while the hoses were off. Sometimes if you guys see something missing in the repair, it's because I got a GoPro glitch. It'll happen from time to time, not that often, but this new camera's a 12, it's better. It's the best one I've ever had so far as glitches go. Not perfect, but 90% better. I was doing restarts 12 times a day, now it's like once, maybe twice at the most. They fixed something. Maybe they saw my YouTube channel, they were like, oh my god, Jimmy's upset, we have to fix that. Somehow I don't think so. But part of me wants to believe they said, we got to find a way to make that work. I'm going to pull my hoses up so you don't get all cray-cray and forget them. That doesn't fit on those aftermarket terminals. I thought this was original, but it can't be. 159,000 miles. It's a little dirty, but nothing terrible. There's a square, or a corner I should say, on the air filter box. And there's 3 rounded ones. One's a little pointier. So it has to face up and in that corner. Two 10s. Don't need to crank those down. I see a lot of these air boxes crush. I apologize to those of you who watch a lot of my videos. You've heard it before, but I still keep seeing it, so I feel like I should mention it. Well, that clamp is stretched out something fierce, man. This bolt's broken off in here, so we're going with 1 bolt. That's how it arrived, that's how it will leave. This bolt's not the right bolt though. I may get a shorter one with a bigger washer head just to feel better about it. Something like that should be better. Even matches the car. Fancy. Well, I was going to try this, but I don't think it's going to fit. Nope. Okay. We'll have to do it the old-fashioned way. It's a serious amount of engineering goes into filling these Toyotas. Paid my $28 bill on the Mack truck. I'm completely out of debt. Well, I owed a gear wrench guy some money because I got my mini ductor from him. Let's get back on this thing, get some coolant in it before it's time to eat some lunch. Some of the finest universal coolant money can buy.
Nice.
I don't trust that little plastic tube to hold up a lot of weight, so I'm going to help it.
Well, I know Mandy is, so she can have more control on Mandy.
You know when it's gurgling like that, can't have a bad leak. That means it's having a hard time getting the air out. It's going to be a long, slow, drawn-out process. I'm going to get a block of wood or something from under that. That's why they call it making it work. I'm going to go at this a while. This car should hold about 1.5 gallons or so. If we can get about that much in and we know we're pretty close, we can fire it up. Try to give it a little burp action and see if it has an air pocket. You guys know if you haven't seen my other videos, just in case, you'll know the air's out when you get warm air off the fans when they turn on and you get warm air out of the heater inside. Then you know you got air out of everything and you'll be good to go. That way you don't have to go try driving it and overheating on the road, finding out there's air in it. You can do it pretty easily in the shop. Sometimes you can rev the engine a little bit, purge a couple air pockets out, things like that. Sometimes you can loosen a hose clamp and stick your hose removal tool under it just to let air escape. Some cars have a bleeder screw or something, but there's always a way. You don't have to vacuum fill every car like some people think, especially when it's under the firewall or wiper cowl. That's when you don't have much of an option. My little setup's leaking a little bit. That's terrible news. Give that a minute to percolate. Gonna percolate a little bit, and I gotta clear the codes too. I'm gonna let this run a little bit. Take care of that real quick. Oh, by the way, I think I said 2015 Sienna earlier, but I believe it's 2004. We got it now. We know what year it is. I was gonna look at the coolant temp compared to air temp real quick, but the engine hasn't completely cooled anyway, and it's taking a little long to get the scanner linked up, so it's probably a little late, but we'll take a look at it. Clear fault memory completed. Now we'll look at the data stream for air temp and coolant temp. Okay, trans fluid temp, coolant temp. Now intake air. I don't know, let's see. Coolant temp, automatic trans temp, intake air. So it's obviously there's a lot of noise there, buddy. So it's obviously a little warm already, so we're just gonna make sure there's no air in there and that's all fixed, and we'll be good to go. I got this little kit is pretty cool. Lyle 24970. I wrote it on there because some people asked me about it. I got two kits here because my gear wrench guy, his dog ate the funnel to a kit, and he gave me the rest of the parts from it because he couldn't sell it. And so I got doubles of things and all, which the only time it serves a purpose if one of them cracks or gets lost, right? And I'm pretty easy on my tools for the most part. Anyway, this comes so you can stop the hole up and pull it off without making too much of a mess. It'll still spill out the bottom, but at least anything that's left in there won't also go with the rest of it. And then we'll back this up and rinse all the coolant off here so they don't see coolant dripping on the floor in the morning or anything like that. 188.6. So it'll be another 15 degrees or so. I think the fans come on these 205 or so, maybe 195, we'll see. It's definitely getting warm. Both hoses have some temp to them. Lower, not quite as much, so the thermostat hasn't quite opened yet. So we know we won't get a thermostat code. We fixed a little tiny coolant leak it had. So we'll be in good shape once this runs a little bit. We'll rinse it off. Make sure there's no coolant on the transmission. That should be pretty good. Once this fan cycles on, if it's going to be able to control temp, the fan will come on, it'll blow warm air, and then the fan will turn off. If the fan keeps running and even goes into the higher speed, that means it's got an air pocket. So that's all I usually do. Then you go in, turn the heater on real quick, make sure you got hot air, take it for a drive, and you're done. You recheck it for leaks and things like that if you have any doubts. This is pretty straightforward. We're going to be good to go. And then grab a little bite to eat. We'll see if there's something else to do. For you guys, you know, if you've been around a while, it's only going to seem like a split second to you. Uh-oh. BMW. Just towed in a BMW, and the owner got out of the tow truck wearing pajamas. Had a rough morning, I guess. Look at this beautiful 2010 Nissan. Don't be jealous. I know some of you guys love these. And so does this customer. This is the Altima. This is ranked number 2 in the country for the most accidents. Beaten only by the Honda Accord. That's a real thing, I'm not joking. I'm gonna pop the hood and look around at the hood, but they're complaining about a noise. This vehicle has 135,406 miles on it. And, well, just going through some things. And, I'm gonna give it a 2. I'm afraid to touch that door. I don't know what's gonna happen if I do. It smells pretty bad. I'm gonna get out. But we got a bearing noise or brakes or something I can hear. And they said the faster they go, the worse it gets. So I'm gonna lift it up. Something in the right front, I believe. But I do want to look around under the hood. Oh, new battery. That's nice. Okay. That's good. Make sure this belt is on and all that kind of stuff, but it sounds like suspension driveline type stuff. Still best to take a look around just in case. Oh yeah, that does not sound right. I can feel in the spring, it amplifies the vibrations from the bearings. When the races get chunked out, the bearing gives out a rah, 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 rah. The spring multiplies it for you so you can feel it. It's not terrible though, compared to what I heard driving it. Let's see what the other one looks like. Oh, you guys are short. Make it seem a little taller. You could be a baller, a shot caller, have 20-inch blades on your Impala. sounded like it was in a transmission. That's not good. Something in the transaxle. Let's lift it up. You guys want to hear it? I'll put the earphones on so you can hear it a little better. Tell me how that is. It's really not funny, but transfer case, basically, that's what a four-wheel drive car is. Transmission and transfer case are one piece. So, transaxle bad, something bearings in that transaxle. That's why it's faster than the wheel speed, because it's probably before the axle output, in between the transmission output shaft and the transaxle. Something, bearings or chains or something that connect those things. So. On top of the other problems, got a bad axle, got a torn sway bar that rocks around a lot. This piece of plastic must have been rubbing this arm for a long time. So that's kind of sad, but we'll have to give them the bad news and see what happens. Maybe we'll end up fixing it. Well, we got broken BMWs, the old Mustang declining air repair. This Jeep's overheating. I don't know what they did with the Mini Cooper. Nissan needs a transmission. The Challenger's got a battery draw. Is that real? Or you just put that on there because it's funny? I don't think you can use that logo without trouble. Oh, there you go. Just pull it. Oh, shit. I mean, oh, heck. That's a mail truck. Isn't that something? Okay. He said it's overheating. He's been putting coolant in it. The steering wheel's missing. What do I do? 2006 Jeep Wrangler right side drive. 107,367 miles. And I would not be at all surprised if it's got about 4 times as much hours on it as it does miles. It's really weird driving from the right side. I feel like I'm a passenger. I don't think any of them realize it's right-hand drive yet, which is gonna make it so all the parts are different. See Bill's reaction. That's the reaction I was hoping for. He's like, what the hell? It's so weird driving with the shifting with your left hand and hitting the door handle while you're steering. That's okay. Let's not let it run too long. We'll go take a look under the hood. Oh, they got the heater on so you can stop it from overheating. All right. Very strange. Love rating. I'm gonna say 4. I'm feeling kind of generous. It's probably a 3, but just for being right-hand drive, I'm gonna go 4. It's a rusty little girl too. Oh, this has got the 4-liter. They're lucky. Looks like the old bomba de agua is leaking. Some of you may not know that means water pump. It's dripping right there. Now I know I should probably put the pressure tester on it, get all that stuff out, and show you where it's leaking exactly. But it's a water pump, so we'll get a mirror. We'll do that. We'll take a little look-see and place our light a little better. Show you what it looks like with the mirror. There's a weep hole in there, and when the bearing or seal start going bad, it lets you have a little coolant, whether you want it or not. Now you do need to go through this though, even though I'm pretty sure it's the water pump. You do need to do it in case there's a freeze plug leaking, and you can see where it's wet right there. I hope that shows up, but you know, sometimes a freeze plug in the head or something like that could be leaking right near the water pump, so you'll think it's that, but it isn't. These also have a tube that runs up the side. I've done probably 100 of these things over my career, and sometimes the clutch is bad and the clutch takes out the water pump. Sometimes it's just the water pump. This clutch feels pretty good. Belt looks like it was changed not too long ago, so it basically just needs a water pump. We'll probably recommend a thermostat while we're in there. The clamps and the hoses, they look okay. Doesn't feel too soft or anything. Kind of strange. It's older than that other vehicle, but it's got a couple little power steering leaks and things, but nothing tragic, nothing really bad. All right, I'll let them know up front, and we'll see where this thing goes. Caveman's got the air tools out. So 1997 Honda Accord, 227,298 miles. It's gonna get a cleanliness rating of 5. I'm thinking about a 6, although the seats are pretty wore out, but it's really fairly clean. Got a lot of love, a lot of use. Customer says sometimes your RPMs jump. A couple other little complaints. So we got an hour to figure it out. ABS lights on, check engine lights on. So let's grab the scanner and see if we can find out. 97 should have an OBD2 connector. It started in 1996. Keep it down over there. We're working over here. Sheesh, no respect. All right, now what these wise guys have done here is they're pretty slick. They were like, our cars never break. We could just put the OBD2 connector behind the ashtray. You're like, no, they didn't, did they? Oh yeah, they did. They did, and they break. I mean, it's a 97. It's gonna break eventually. What is it? 28 years old. It finally had a problem. This car's never been repaired ever before. They probably didn't even change the oil yet. I couldn't keep a straight face. I apologize. We're gonna go ahead and get this thing talking. Hopefully, whoop, no power. I was just gonna say, hopefully it powers up. And whoop, something's happening. I jiggled the connector, so that means it's been plugged into so many times it wore it out. Skip. Okay, no automatic VIN, so we're gonna go Asian, Honda. Now it might do it. It's weird how it won't do it on its own, but you tell it what brand and sometimes it'll start communicating, but we'll see if that works. Come on, let's do this. 16 pin DLC, silly. USA. That's where we're on now. I don't know where the car's from. I'm not going to bother trying to find out. If it doesn't talk, we'll try General or Canada or something like that, but I don't suspect that'll be a problem. It's doing something. What year is it? 2007? No, that's wrong. I'm going back. 16 pin. USA. I got almost an hour into it already. No, I'm just kidding. So we'll get this, I'm going to get this thing in here. And I put in 07 by mistake, it's a 97. So I'm gonna start over and oh, look at this. It's gonna do topology on a 97. I don't think so, mister. It's gonna be some codes, lots of them, I'm sure. Go ahead. Just want to show you how many are in there. Oh, only one in ACM. That's good. He said something about the shifter light too. These have some problems. There's a couple different issues on these Hondas. When the shifter light blinks and the RPM, they have ignition modules that go bad. They have all kinds of problems with a couple different grounds. There's a few different issues that they have, and we'll go over those if that's what we need to do on this one, but we'll see. The codes are going to tell us where to go. 17-01 VSS, no pulse current. That would be why the speedometer doesn't work, and could cause other problems like the shift light and things like that, but I don't see the shift light right now. I wonder if when you're driving it comes on. What happens is that D4 indicator will blink if it's mad about something. The ABS light's on because there is no ABS communication. It says here, I'll show you in a second once it gets happy with where it's at. Oh, system list, ABS not equipped. So the ABS module isn't talking. So I can look under the hood, see if it's plugged in. We can check fuses. I'm not sure if they want to get into diagnosing that. It's probably, that light's probably been on for a while. Although they did mention a bunch of lights are on the dash. So cut myself again. I do that all the time, right in the spot where they froze off something. Anyway, so I'm going to mostly focus on this no VSS and the speedometer issue. And that's also I had to check engine lights on. Then we'll just take a quick look into the ABS module not coming online, see if there's fuses blowing or anything like that, and then we'll see where we go with that. The surging engine speed I haven't seen. Normally that's a problem in the distributor where the control module's not working correctly, and you can disconnect the tach input and see if it runs better. You won't have a tach. But see if the vehicle is actually surging when the tach does that, or if it's just the tach moving and the vehicle's running correctly. That's, you have to separate the two. So if it's running badly and the tach's surging, then you can disconnect that tach input, and if it starts running good, it's in the distributor. If the tach's still moving and not supposed to be because it's not hooked up, then there's something going on in the cluster. That's very common too. I mean, any car when it gets old, even a Honda, stuff happens. So let's go under that hood, take a look at some fuses and things, see if we can spot something. Maybe vehicle speed sensor is unplugged or something like that if they're really lucky. I doubt it, but we gotta take a look. All of these, all the fuses are good in here. I got the key on. Any that have power are not for lights, and they'll be powered up. And they all got power on both sides. Anything that has power on both sides. The cover's gone. It gives me fuse numbers to check, but the cover's gone, so I can't tell which fuse is which, but they don't really want to do anything with the ABS. I just wanted to make sure at least it's not a blown fuse, but there's supposed to be a separate connector too. It might not be communicating because suppose there's a separate connector behind the glove box. I took a look, couldn't find it. So I'm forgetting on these when the cutoff is. I thought after OBD2 the ABS would communicate on the OBD2 port, but maybe not. In any event, they said they're not worried about it anyway. So we're going to focus on the vehicle speed sensor. I got to get in there and check for powers and grounds. That's on the transmission under the hood. That's where the ABS sensor dealio is down there. See that little guy? Causing trouble. Got a couple Torx bits and stuff, and 3 wires. It's mechanical.
Do you mind if I try this one?
You good? It turns a. It's mechanical. It turns a little dealio inside there, and the electrical stuff converts the mechanical. You guys know the name for that? Something that converts mechanical into electrical energy, or electrical signal, I should say. You got to put it in the comments. I'm not going to tell you. But we're going to test it out, see if it's got power and ground, see what the signal looks like, and go from there. 100 out of 100 of them have the bad sensor. But you still got to make sure you can't just chuck parts in. It's like a parts cannon deal. We don't want to do that on YouTube. All right, we're meterific right here. 12.47. Keys on. Let's see what we get here. I didn't look at a wiring diagram yet. It's got 3 wires. Not too complicated, right? Now, if I had 13 wires, then maybe I would look at a wiring diagram. That would be the ground, because it's showing me voltage drop. Some of these rubber biscuits are a little stiff. Uh-oh, something's happening there. That might be a signal wire. Let's see if there's power in the middle one. Usually the middle one's the signal. That's why I did it last, but not always. Yep, there's a 12 volts in the middle. So I'm guessing that left wire is a signal wire. That was the only one that was not showing voltage drop or voltage. So, if I can lift this car, I can even hook a scope to that. We can see what kind of pattern we get. But the thing is, I feel like we're going to have a waste of time doing it because it doesn't have a signal, and that's what the code's for, and it comes right back when you clear it. So, it's got a bad vehicle speed sensor. We got good power and ground. Let's lift it up, just to see if we get something to happen with the meter. If it shows any indication on the min-max that something's going on, then we know at least it's putting out something, and maybe we go further. But I'm gonna be very shocked if it's not bad, since like I said, 100 of them out of 100. But we're thorough here on our YouTube channel. We don't want to take any guesses. I don't want anyone getting a nervous twitch or having their head explode. We got no speedo, yet we have speed. Now, without sticking my knees into the tires, I'm gonna probe that left side wire. Where'd you go? Let's go min-max. I'm not seeing anything coming out of it like I suspected. Now, if you really want to get crazy, you could try pulsing it to see if it makes the speedometer move, but we've already spent enough time on this. Yeah, I could probably put a scope in it, but it's going to just show a flat line on the scope. It won't be very exciting. Keep in mind, I get 1 hour for checking all of these things, and we spent all our time. So we'll see if he wants to fix it. It's gonna need a vehicle speed sensor. The surging problem I haven't felt, probably what's happening going down the road without the speedometer working and the vehicle speed sensor signal, it gets upset. So, all right, we'll see what happens with this thing if we're gonna go any further. At the very least, if they want to check a couple more of these things, we need more time. So we are timed out. Yeah, Rob's gonna work on the estimate on this Honda. I wanted to point out too while I was at it, see how you can really see the swelling on this. Someone's done a radiator recently. It's got a new starter in it, got a new rack and pinion, new power steering hose and pump. Someone's done a lot of work. So these hoses are what leak on these really commonly. They're return line or reservoir hoses, very common. But these radiator hoses should have been changed. I mean, you can see this is drooping down into the fan and stuff. I would assume there's supposed to be a bracket or something to hold that up, but it's definitely swole. Anyway, I wanted to show you that because it's more exaggerated than the other car. This is not good. Hoses go bad from the inside out. By the time you can see what's going on, the inside's deteriorated real bad. So we'll see what happens with this one. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for today. We just got approval on that Jeep though, so we're gonna do that tomorrow. We got approval on this vehicle speed sensor on this Honda, so we're gonna do that, see if the Shotgun Auto Services was right. You guys know better than that. You saw what I did. So thanks for watching. Torque the like button on your way out. Check out one of these videos in the corners if you want to see some more content. I know it's been a light week because of all the holidays, but plenty of videos on the channel you can check out. And there's an Amazon store, don't forget about that either. I appreciate you guys. A lot of guys have been using my Amazon links, and that's much appreciated. It really helps me get more motivated on the channel. Hope I see you in the next video. You're awesome.